What if I told you that the most expensive piece of safety gear in your collection is the number one reason you went home empty-handed last weekend? Sounds crazy, right? You bought that high-visibility suit to keep you safe, not to act as a fish repellent. But today, we're diving deep under the ice to answer a question that has started arguments in ice shanties for years. Does your bright, flashy ice fishing suit actually scare the fish you're trying to catch? Stick around because the truth is more complicated and fascinating than you think, and it might just change how you dress for the hard water forever. We aren't just talking theories, we're looking at what science says about how a fish actually sees your world from below. So before we get into it, let me know in the comments right now. Do you rock a bright look-at-me suit, or do you stick to the old-school dark and camouflage patterns? Let the debate begin. Let's set the scene. For generations, ice fishermen were just guys in their warmest winter gear. Think drab browns, dark greens, and heavy grey coats. The goal was to stay warm, period. But over the last couple of decades, the gear has evolved. Now we have specialized, technologically advanced ice fishing suits, and a huge selling point for these suits is safety. They float, they have ice picks in the sleeves, and they come in incredibly bright, vibrant colors: fire engine red, neon yellow, electric blue. This makes perfect sense. On a vast, white landscape of a frozen lake, being visible to other people, especially if there are snowmobiles or vehicles around, is a matter of life and death. So we've all embraced the brightness for our own safety, but in our quest to be seen by fellow humans, we never stop to ask, how are we being seen by the fish? This is where the old-school wisdom clashes with modern technology, creating one of the biggest unanswered questions in ice fishing today. First, let's get one thing straight. To understand if your suit scares fish, you have to stop thinking like a human standing on the ice and start thinking like a fish looking up from the depths. The world down there is completely different. Imagine you're a walleye suspended 15 feet below the surface. Your entire ceiling is a bright, glowing disk of light, which is the underside of the ice. On a sunny day with no snow cover, this ceiling can be intensely bright. Anything that passes between you and that light source is going to create a shadow, a silhouette. This is your primary threat detection system. A bird flying overhead, a wolf walking along the shore, or an angler stomping around their ice hole, it all registers as a dark shape against a bright background. This is a fundamental survival instinct for prey species. They are hardwired to react to unexpected shapes and movements from above because that's where danger often comes from. So before we even talk about color, we have to acknowledge that your very presence creates a disturbance. You are a large object blocking the light, and that alone is enough to put fish on high alert, especially in clearer water. Now let's talk about that ceiling of light. The condition of the ice and snow cover is probably the single most important factor in this whole debate. Let's picture two very different scenarios. Scenario 1, it's early ice. The lake is covered in 6 inches of crystal clear black ice and the sun is shining brightly. In this situation, a massive amount of light is penetrating the water. The underside of the ice is almost transparent. A fish can practically see the tread on your boots. In this environment, every detail is magnified. Your movements, your shadow, and yes, the color of your clothing are all going to be far more visible. Now, scenario 2, it's midwinter and there are 2 feet of packed, drifted snow on top of a foot of cloudy ice. The amount of light getting through that is drastically reduced. The world below is much dimmer, more diffuse. The fish's world is darker and your presence above is little more than a subtle darkening of the already dim ceiling. In this second scenario, the color of your suit is almost certainly irrelevant. It's like asking if a black cat is harder to see in a pitch-black room. The environment itself is providing all the camouflage you need. So the question isn't just, does my suit color matter, but in what conditions does it matter? To really get to the bottom of this, we need to understand how a fish's eye works. It's similar to ours in some ways, but it's also highly adapted for an aquatic environment. Fish have both rods and cones in their retinas, just like we do. Rods are for low-light vision, detecting shapes and movement. Cones are for seeing in color. The number and type of cones a fish has determines what colors it can see. And here's the kicker. Many of the fish we target through the ice, like perch, walleye, and trout, have excellent color vision. In fact, some species can see further into the ultraviolet spectrum than we can. They live in a world where the color of a potential meal or a potential mate is critically important. This means they are fully capable of distinguishing between different colors. The idea that fish only see in black and white is a complete myth. So, scientifically speaking, a fish can definitely tell the difference between a dark blue blob and a bright orange blob above them, provided there is enough light for their cone cells to function. Let's focus on a crowd favorite, the walleye. Walleye are famous for their large, light-gathering eyes, which gives them a huge advantage in low-light conditions. They have a layer in their eyes called the tapetum lucidum, which is like a mirror that reflects light back through the retina. It's the same thing that makes a cat's eyes glow in the dark. This makes them incredibly sensitive to light and movement. However, their vision is tuned for peak performance at dawn and dusk, and in the stained, deeper waters they prefer, they see reds and oranges very well, as these colors are visible in their preferred hunting grounds. But what does this mean for the angler above? It means that a bright orange or red suit, illuminated by the sun on the ice, creates a signal that a walleye's eyes are perfectly designed to pick up. While they might not perceive it as orange in the same way we do, it registers as a high-contrast, high-energy color against the bright blue-green hue of their underwater world. It's an unnatural color that stands out, and for a spooky, light-sensitive predator like a walleye, unnatural and stands out often translates to danger. Now let's consider another common target, the yellow perch, and their larger cousins. Unlike the low-light specialist walleye, perch are primarily daytime sight feeders. They have fantastic color vision, which they use to pick tiny invertebrates and minnows out of their environment. They are curious by nature, but also a primary food source for larger predators like pike and walleye. Their entire existence is a balance between finding food and not becoming food. When a large, unfamiliar shape appears above, their instinct kicks in. If that shape is also a bright, jarring color that doesn't match the natural palette of the sky or trees seen through the water, it's even more alarming. Think about it from their perspective. For thousands of years, the only things that have appeared above them are the muted colors of the natural world. Suddenly, a gigantic fire engine red creature is tap dancing on their ceiling. It's not a stretch to imagine this would send a school of perch scattering for the nearest weed bed. Their well-developed eyesight, in this case, works against the angler wearing the high visibility gear, especially in the shallow, clear waters where perch often feed during the day. Let's dig into the physics of it all. Water is not like air. It absorbs and scatters light. Not all colors penetrate water equally. Longer wavelength colors like reds and oranges are the first to be absorbed. As you go deeper, red is the first color to disappear, followed by orange, then yellow. The colors that penetrate the deepest are the shorter wavelengths like blues and greens. This is why the deep ocean appears blue. What does this mean for our ice suit? It means that at a certain depth, your bright red or orange suit will simply appear as a dark, grayish shape. The water itself has filtered out the very color that makes it so vibrant on the surface. So if you're fishing for lake trout in 80 feet of water, the color of your suit is almost completely irrelevant. By the time any light from your suit reaches the fish, the red or orange part of the spectrum is long gone. In this case, your silhouette and the vibrations you make are 100 times more important than your fashion choices. This is a crucial point. The depth you are fishing is a massive variable that can completely negate any effect of color. So, we've established that in deep or dirty water, color doesn't matter much. But what about that shallow, clear water scenario we talked about? This is where the terrifying monster theory really comes into play. Let's say you're sight fishing for panfish in 6 feet of crystal clear water. The fish can see everything. Here, your bright suit isn't just a color, it's part of a larger, threatening picture. The combination of a massive silhouette, the jarringly unnatural color, and the sharp, sudden movements of drilling a hole or walking around creates a perfect storm of scary signals to the fish below. The bright color acts as a highlighter, drawing the fish's attention to the threatening shape and movement. It's like you're putting a big, flashing neon sign on yourself that says, "Danger, predator above." In this specific and very common situation, a more muted or camouflaged suit would undeniably be less conspicuous. By blending in more with the background tones of the shoreline or trees as seen from below, you reduce the overall shock value of your presence. You're still a big shape, but you're not a big, glowing shape. Now we have to address the counter-argument, the one you'll hear from thousands of successful anglers who wear bright suits every day. Their argument is simple. Fish are used to shadows. They live with them constantly. Birds fly over, clouds pass, trees sway on the shoreline. A shadow from an angler is just another shadow in a long line of shadows they see every day. They believe that fish don't associate a shadow from above with a hook from below. And there's some logic to this. If every shadow sent fish into a panic, they would never eat. Proponents of this view will tell you that the noise of the auger, the vibrations from your footsteps, and the scent of your bait are far more significant factors. They'll point to their limit catches of perch or walleye, all caught while wearing the brightest suit they own. For them, the proof is in the live well. The safety benefits of the bright color far outweigh any unproven theoretical risk of spooking a few fish. They might even argue that in some cases the color could act as a curiosity attractor, drawing fish in to investigate the strange phenomenon above. This leads us to a key element we haven't discussed enough: movement. Regardless of what color you are wearing, sudden, jerky movements are a universal sign of danger in the animal kingdom. If you are standing perfectly still, you can get away with a lot. But if you are constantly pacing around your hole, dropping gear, and making sharp, aggressive movements, you are sending out panic signals. Think of a great blue heron hunting. It stands perfectly motionless, sometimes for an hour, before striking. It blends in by being still. Now imagine that heron was bright red and doing jumping jacks. It would never eat. The same principle applies on the ice. Your bright suit might make your initial arrival more noticeable, but it's your subsequent movements that will keep the fish spooked. An angler in a camo suit who is stomping and fidgeting is going to scare more fish than an angler in a red suit who moves slowly and deliberately, or better yet, sits quietly inside a shanty. This suggests that behavior is more critical than color. Your color might be the initial hello, but your movement is the conversation that follows. Let's talk about the ice shanty or shelter. This is the great equalizer in the color debate. The moment you step inside a shanty and close the doors, the color of your suit becomes completely and utterly irrelevant. You are now contained within an object. The fish don't see your suit, they see the large, dark shape of the shanty itself. A shanty effectively blocks the light and hides your silhouette and all of your movements. It creates a consistent, unchanging shadow on the bottom of the lake. Fish can and do get accustomed to this. For anglers who spend most of their time fishing from inside a shelter, this entire discussion is purely academic. They could be wearing a suit made of flashing disco lights, and it wouldn't make a difference. This is why you see so many guides and professional anglers using bright-colored suits without issue. They are often operating out of comfortable, heated shelters, especially when guiding clients. If you are a hole hopper who rarely uses a shanty, however, then the color of your suit is a much more valid concern because you are personally the object that the fish are seeing. What about the species that are less spooky? A fish like a northern pike, for example, is an aggressive apex predator. They are often far less concerned with threats from above than a small, nervous perch. A pike's focus is on ambushing prey. A flash of color or a shadow might even trigger their predatory curiosity rather than a fear response. They might swim over to investigate the disturbance. I've personally seen pike swim directly under the hole and stare up, seemingly unfazed by my presence just a few feet away. For these more aggressive or less pressured fish, the color of your suit is likely a non-issue. The same can be said for stocked trout, which are raised in an artificial environment and often have a diminished sense of natural danger. However, for wary, pressured fish in clear water, like educated walleye or jumbo perch that have seen it all, every little detail matters. For these fish, gaining any small advantage, like being less visible, can be the difference between a bite and a refusal. So the species you're targeting also plays a significant role in how much you should worry about your color. Let's synthesize what we've learned into a clear when it matters and when it doesn't. Guide. Your bright suit is most likely to be a negative factor under a specific set of circumstances. Number 1. You are fishing in shallow water, let's say less than 15 feet deep. Number 2, the water is very clear with several feet of visibility. Number 3, there is little to no snow cover on top of the ice, allowing for maximum light penetration. Number 4, you are not using an ice shanty. And number 5, you are targeting a species known to be spooky or pressured, like big panfish or walleye. If you check all 5 of these boxes, then yes, your bright red suit could very well be putting you at a disadvantage. You are presenting yourself as a large, brightly colored, high-contrast monster. In this situation, switching to a more subdued color, or at the very least minimizing your movement, is a very smart strategy. It's all about playing the percentages and controlling the variables that you can control. Conversely, when is it safe to rock that bright suit without a second thought? The list is just as clear. Number 1, you are fishing in deep water, say over 25 or 30 feet. At this depth, color filtration and diffusion make your suit color largely irrelevant. Number 2, you are fishing in stained or murky water. If visibility is only a couple of feet, the fish aren't getting a clear look at you anyway. Number 3, the ice is covered with a thick layer of snow. The snow acts as a giant light diffuser, effectively hiding you from below. Number 4, you are fishing from inside an ice shelter. The shelter becomes the object, not you. And number 5, you are targeting aggressive or less pressured fish. If any of these conditions are met, the negative impact of your suit's color drops dramatically. In these common scenarios, the safety benefits of being highly visible to other people on the ice far outweigh any potential impact on the fish. This is why there is no single, simple answer to the question. The correct answer is always, it depends on the situation. So, what's the practical advice here? Do you need to run out and buy a new, all-white, snow camo ice fishing suit? Probably not. A much more practical approach is to modify your behavior first. Regardless of your suit color, focus on being quieter and moving less. When you get to your spot, drill your holes and then try to settle in. Avoid pacing back and forth directly over the area you're fishing. Place your gear down gently instead of dropping it. If you need to check your flasher, do it with a slow, deliberate movement. Think stealth. By reducing the vibrations and the sudden movements you make, you are eliminating the most alarming signals you send to the fish. A quiet angler in a red suit will spook fewer fish than a noisy, clumsy angler in a grey suit. Start with behavior modification, as it's free and arguably more effective in most situations than changing your wardrobe. It's about becoming a quiet, unobtrusive part of the environment rather than a loud, disruptive invader. Another tactical adjustment is to use the environment to your advantage. On those bright, sunny, clear ice days, try to be mindful of your shadow. Position yourself so that your shadow is not cast directly over the hole you are fishing. This simple act of repositioning can make a big difference. If there are snowdrifts, try to set up near them to help break up your outline. Some anglers will even kick a pile of snow around their hole to create a small visual barrier. It's like building a mini snow blind. This helps to reduce the hole-in-the-ceiling effect that can make fish wary. It also helps to block out light, making it easier for you to see down into the hole. These are small, subtle adjustments, but on a tough bite, a combination of several small adjustments is what often leads to success. It's about thinking through every aspect of your presentation, and that includes your own visibility from below. Let's think about the evolution of prey animals. A small fish is programmed by millions of years of evolution to fear large, moving shapes from above. That is its primary defense against predatory birds like ospreys, eagles, and herons. When you, a 6-foot-tall human, stand over a hole, you are mimicking that exact predatory threat. Your silhouette is large, it's dark against the bright sky, and it moves. The fish doesn't have the intellectual capacity to know you're an angler with a tiny jig. It only registers a potential life or death threat. A bright, unnatural color can amplify this instinctual fear response. It makes the threat even more noticeable and harder to ignore. So while a fish might get used to a stationary shadow, it may never get used to a giant, glowing orange creature that moves unpredictably. It's simply too far outside the realm of their normal experience, and their survival instinct tells them to flee first and ask questions later. This evolutionary argument is a powerful point in favor of being as inconspicuous as possible. Consider the perspective of a fly fisherman trying to catch spooky trout in a clear, shallow stream. They go to incredible lengths to avoid being seen. They wear drab, earth-toned clothing. They crawl on their hands and knees to approach the water. They stay low and use trees and bushes to break up their outline. They do all of this because they know that for those fish, seeing the angler means the game is over. Now, why do we think ice fishing is any different? In a shallow, clear water environment, it's not. The fish are just as wary, and we are often positioned directly on top of them. We have just grown accustomed to the idea that the ice provides a solid barrier that hides us. But as we've discussed, under the right conditions, that barrier can be more like a translucent window. Applying the same stealth principles that a stream fisherman uses, moving slowly, staying low and blending in, can pay huge dividends, and choosing a less vibrant suit is a logical extension of that stealthy mindset. It's about respecting the fish's awareness of its surroundings. Let's bring it back to a real-world scenario. Imagine you're on a popular lake, fishing for crappie that have been pressured all winter. You're set up in 12 feet of water over a brush pile. The ice is clear and the sun is out. You mark a big school of fish on your flasher. You drop your jig down and they all rise up to look at it. But they won't commit. They just stare at it, then slowly sink back down. This is a classic, frustrating ice fishing situation. What's causing their hesitation? It could be your bait, your line, or the jigging cadence, but it could also be your presence. If you're standing up, moving around and wearing a suit that looks like a traffic cone, you are adding a significant level of danger to the equation. That fish has to weigh its desire for that tiny meal against the perceived threat of the giant orange blob on the ceiling. Often, the risk outweighs the reward. In this exact situation, an angler sitting still in a shanty or lying on the ice in a dark suit is far more likely to get that bite. Let's consider the sound and vibration aspect one more time, as it's inseparable from the visual. The noise from your auger is a massive disturbance, but it's temporary. The vibrations from you walking around, however, are constant. Fish have a lateral line, a system of sense organs used to detect movement, vibration, and pressure gradients in the surrounding water. They can feel your footsteps long before they can see you. When you combine this constant, threatening vibration with a highly visible, unnatural color, you're giving the fish two sensory inputs that both scream danger. You're confirming what they feel with what they see. A dark suit might lessen the visual confirmation, making your presence slightly more ambiguous. Perhaps it's just a log or a shadow. But a bright suit leaves no room for doubt. It's a clear, unmistakable signal that something large, alive, and unnatural is directly overhead. This combination of sensory inputs is likely far more spooky than either one on its own. So, after all of this, what is the final verdict? Is your bright suit a terrifying monster? The answer is a classic yes and no. It is not the color itself that is the monster, but the combination of factors. The real monster is the large, high-contrast silhouette combined with sudden, threatening movements. Your bright suit simply acts as an amplifier for that monster, making it more visible and more unnatural under specific conditions, namely in shallow, clear water with little snow cover. It's a variable that can tip the scales on spooky, pressured fish. It is not an automatic fish repellent in all situations. In deep water, dirty water, or from inside a shanty, its effect is virtually zero. The intelligent angler understands these nuances. They recognize that their most important tool is not the color of their suit, but their brain. They adapt their behavior, their location, and sometimes their gear to match the conditions of the day. The color of your suit is just one more variable in the complex and wonderful puzzle of ice fishing. So there you have it. The final takeaway isn't that you need to throw out your expensive, safe, high-visibility suit. The big aha moment here is that the monster fish see isn't just one thing. It's not just the color. It's the whole package, a large silhouette, starkly contrasted against their bright ceiling, making sudden, sharp movements. The bright color just paints that monster in high definition under the worst possible conditions for stealth. The truth is, how you act is probably more important than how you look. But on those tough bluebird days over clear water, how you look can absolutely be the factor that keeps wary fish from committing. This should change your approach. Instead of worrying about buying a new suit, worry about being a quieter, more deliberate angler. Use a shanty when conditions call for it. And if you are in the market for new gear, maybe consider a suit in a more subdued color if you frequently fish those shallow, clear, high-pressure situations. It's all about stacking the odds in your favor. Thank you so much for sticking with us through that deep dive. If this video gave you something to think about for your next trip on the ice, do me a favor and hit that like button, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss our next videos where we tackle more of fishing's biggest questions. Now, I want to hear from you. After hearing all this, are you rethinking your gear, Or do you believe this is all just overthinking it and scaring fish is a myth? Let me know your real-world experiences in the comments below.